Shane Barton with you again from CEDIK, the Community and Economic Development Initiative of Kentucky. In our previous video, I shared the basics of community and strategic planning to help you get started. In this video, I'll dive a bit deeper into the components of the planning process. Planning, though, much like our own communities, has changed over time, as practitioners have focused on the impacts of historic planning practices and the conditions they've helped cause or contribute to. To learn more about the history of community development and design, I would invite you to watch my colleague Ryan Sandwick's 6 Minutes with CEDIK video, where he shares a synopsis of planning and design over time. Planning as a practice has always been interested in practical problem solving, but our philosophical approaches have changed substantially over time. Planning was originally rooted in applied disciplines, drawing little distinction between broad community goals, knowledge, values, or even public engagement. Planning was seen as a very rational, centralized practice, underpinned by an applied scientist understanding of the question at hand and how their discipline specifically approached that question. You can imagine a civil engineer and a social worker may approach the same problem in very different ways. That's why today we view planning more as an interdisciplinary process. Over time, a more humanistic approach has emerged that sought to prioritize planning as a practice in communicative action. And more often than not, the planner is now a facilitator and a synthesizer of communities' collective insights, values, and goals. While planning has changed over time, the way we approach it today is most certainly built on a foundation we continue to draw upon. The planning and the planning process really has 6 broad components that I'll outline an overview for you. The first, the planning process usually begins with a need, a question, or a directive. Typically, the process starts with what I'll simply refer to as a leadership team. This group has a purpose to plan, a sense of the timeline, and they usually provide direction on the overall process and most likely are responsible for your budget. Secondly, a plan has inputs, and these represent both facts and values. In general, I'll refer to the inputs as data, public engagement, and an analysis. Data provides inferences about the past or current conditions. Data is embedded within those metrics that you'll use to evaluate your plan. Data, it can be community demographics, existing plans, or conditions. Data can also include scans of community trends or future-looking projections. Public engagement. Public engagement is critical to any planning process, as we highlighted in our previous video. Engagement can come from a variety of methods, including but not limited to public meetings, forums, key stakeholder meetings, one-on-one interviews, focus groups, surveys, charrettes, or even engaged assessments like ripple effect mapping. But most important and impactful is public engagement in establishing those shared frameworks for community values and decision-making. At CEDIK, we strive to incorporate engagement into each element of the planning process. A SWOT analysis, perhaps outside of a vision and mission, is the most well-known planning component. It's an acronym for a process examining your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Alternatively, you may see this shortened simply to an opportunities and constraints analysis. A SWOT analysis is often organized and facilitated as a public process. In addition to a SWOT, process may call for a more rational discipline-specific strategy, like a cost-benefit analysis or even an economic feasibility study. The third and fourth components are the vision and mission. What we learn and have established to this point helps inform the vision. The vision is less interested in forecasting the futures as it is in creating it. It should be a practice of dreaming about what might be that focuses on all the dimensions of quality of life. The mission is a statement that describes what the group or community is going to do and why it's going to do it. It's a concise, outcome-oriented statement. The vision should inspire people to dream, and your mission should inspire them to act. At this point in the process, we often affirm the mission, the vision, the community values underpinning our future decisions as we begin to explore all the options, agree on the facts, and develop those criteria for choice, ultimately making our future planning decisions. These elements are integral because future decisions about the plan of action should be screened using what we've affirmed by the community. The fifth component is the plan of action, or what most folks know as some form of goals, objectives, strategies, or actions. Goal setting takes place on a continuum from the planner setting them to the planner obtaining them from the public. The planner emphasizes dialogue about the possibilities inherent in a community situation and then attempts to gain a clear picture of what the group wants, all based on a community's established vision for change. Goals should characterize a desired future state. Goals are the general aims of the community. And remember, if the goals are achieved, the vision should become a reality. Following goal setting comes objective creation. These are sub-elements of each goal, providing a measurable mid-range strategy to achieve the goal. Objectives should specify how much of what will be accomplished by when, and typically reference a change in a specific process, behavior, or community level indicator. We often refer to objectives using the acronym SMARTY. That stands for specific, measurable, obtainable, relevant, time-oriented, inclusive, and equitable. We break objectives into specific strategies. Strategies are sometimes referred to as tactics. These are operational actions with a very short timeline. These specify how you're going to get things done and who will do it. Strategies should take into account existing barriers and resources and fit within the overall vision, mission, and objectives of the plan. The last component of a planning process. After an iterative process to review and revise and eventually adopt the plan, the real work of implementation begins, and thus the last part, evaluation and implementation monitoring. As you begin to consider if a planning process is right for your community, there are a number of variables to take into account, including your timeline, the number of people involved, the roles of the people involved, the scope and purpose of the plan, what data you have access to or need access to, the budget, and whether or not you need an outside expert to assist you. As you consider these planning components and how to move forward, we invite you to reach out to explore if CEDIK can support your community planning efforts. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Have a great day.